Okay, welcome back. This is going to be episode 3 on the Royal Enfield. I have to move some of this stuff out of the way to get at it. But anyway, I want to get that primary cover off of there and have a look at the chain adjuster and the clutch, because I want the lift back, because I'm going to be reassembling that Norton Commando again pretty soon. I got the frame and the swing arm back from the powder coaters. They're absolutely better than factory beautiful. It's almost a shame to assemble a dirty old oily motorcycle around something like that. Anyway, yeah, I want to get at the Enfield. There's another job that's come in too. That's a set of forks off a BMW that a friend of mine is working on. And anyway, he spent quite a bit of money on this front wheel here. That's actually a car rim that he's got laced onto that Suzuki front hub. And anyway, this is going on a sidecar rig. That's why he wanted a car rim to put a car tire on it, because as you know, car tires are flat. And anyway, I will be fitting up the axle and that sort of thing into those Earl's forks, and I need to mount a brake anchor on there as well. So that's another little job I'd like to get done within the next couple of weeks, because I want to get that back to him before he has to go lobster fishing, because if he goes lobster fishing, he won't get back at the bike again for what, another 2 months probably after that. Anyway, the reason why I haven't done a lot of videos here lately is because I got all these other projects on the go. But anyway, let's get the vacuum cleaner out of the way and roll a stool over there, and we'll have a look at what's underneath the cover on that. There's also another little project I've been working on that I'm going to show you. I'm just going to put this on pause for a second, and then I'll bring you back. But we'll be out in the wood shop instead of here. Okay, we're out in the wood shop here now. This is a little project I decided to do up for a friend of mine. We get together a few times a year. We used to hang out all the time when we were just kids and that. But anyway, we got back together a few years ago and started hanging out. We'd go for a beer and a burger sometimes, go out for a hike, maybe drop into a museum, or maybe even go fishing or something like that from time to time. Anyway, the last time we went to the museum, we found one of his father's old boats, not the actual boat that he owned, but one very much like it. It was a Blue Nose 1 design sloop, right? And they're like 23'5", I think, in length. Anyway, he was talking about getting into pond boats and remote control sort of stuff and that, and I said, well, he's always doing nice stuff for me and giving me, plastic models to work on and stuff like that. And I think one of those up there is one of the ones he gave me. Yeah, that Kingfisher up there, the second one from the left on the top. Anyway, I thought it would be nice to carve out a hull for him, and he can finish it up. It still needs a little bit more smoothing up on the hull itself before I give it to him, and I want to put an actual lead keel on the bottom of that oak keel that's right there right now. So anyway, it's almost done. The next time I see him, I'll have that tucked away behind the seat of the truck and hand that to him before we go home. But I think he might enjoy that, and if he doesn't, well, then I'll just take it home and finish it myself. These are some of the other things I do. I got a lot of hobbies. I model, I paint with oil and acrylics, that sort of thing. So anyway, let's go back out in the garage and get back to work at that Royal Enfield there. Okay, back to the job at hand now. This cover here is held on exactly the same way a Norton Commando is. There's just a center sort of nut that that goes on the stud and just holds that cover on. And the only other thing that holds that on for alignment wise is there's an alignment peg that goes into that hole, and there's a a little peg on the end of the shaft that holds the chain adjuster there. So that's all it really needs. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there's one here too. So there's plenty of alignment pins holding that in place. But let's just have a look in here. Well, obviously, the chain adjuster is not doing its job at all. Like that chain is actually striking the top of that cover in that case there. So this affair is not doing what it's supposed to do. So you should look something like that, and maybe have about, I don't know, maybe 3/8 of an inch of slack in that duplex chain there. But you know, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. They've got a piece of radiator hose which usually does not do well in oil. I don't know if that was supposed to be fitted underneath this bolt on the adjuster. I don't know if you could see that or not, but it appears to be just a bolt. Maybe they had that rubber underneath of that so that the bolt could bear against it and wouldn't be sitting right against the aluminum of the case. That could possibly be. That would explain why that rubber's up there on the shaft of the bolt now, not doing anything. Anyhow, I'm just gonna pull that out of there and see what's going on. Maybe I can make up a nice nylon cap for the end of that adjuster bolt to, you know, so that wouldn't wrap up and down against the case. But in either way, it still shouldn't wrap up and down against the case like that. And it appears that this is a nylon wear face on top of that steel plate. So yeah, let's get that out of there and see what we got going on. All right, now with this out, you can see a bit of wear there on that nylon shoe. It's to the point where the rollers are contacting that smooth area now. So instead of the chain plates rubbing against here, you're going to have the rollers actually rolling against here. So that could last for quite a long while, even though it's not particularly pretty. But anyway, I'm going to unscrew that bolt and just see how much adjustment is left on it. Maybe it needs a longer bolt. And as far as that piece of rubber that was on it goes, I think they actually had that in there underneath of there, either as a spacer or to stop the noise. But I'm pulling that chain like sideways back and forth. There's a lot of wear in that primary chain. I think I'm going to, if I don't replace it right away, I'm going to look at replacing that very soon anyhow, because there seems to be a lot of wear in it. Anyhow, I'll cross that bridge in a little while for sure, but I wanted to get the pressure plate and springs off of here so I can check those clutch plates as well. Charlie did say it was slipping a little bit in high gear, but he also said that he burnt the clutch on it, so it could be that it's only glazed. I might be able to save it if that's the case. But anyway, like I say, I'll get the 7/16 out and take that off of there and see what I can see. Okay, I've got that adjusted up to where it should be, and that's about the amount of tension that should be on that chain. It's about 3/8 of an inch up and down free play. You could see how much that was slapping around. Lord, it was gouging into that post there and everything. Not good at all. Anyway, yeah, I think I might take that bolt out and recess it like the BSA adjusters are, and put a little nylon button inside the bolt so that it's got something with a little give against the case, so it's not bearing directly metal to metal on there. that might help a little bit as far as that goes. But like I say, I still think it would be a really wise move to replace that chain because there's a lot of wear in that. Okay, I got all those clutch plates out. Not without stabbing myself in the finger with one of those little picks that I used to get sticky clutch plates out. I don't know how I managed it, but somehow or other I did anyway. I have to get a Band-Aid on that, clean that up. But anyway, the clutch plates all look good. There's no rust or anything like what I'm used to seeing. And the friction plates are those lightweight aluminum backed ones. So I think I might just give them a cleaning off and just give the faces a little swipe of with some sandpaper over there on the drill press table. It's a nice flat spot to set them on. Yeah, anyway, I think I can just put that back together and it should work. I don't know if it will or not, but anyway, Charlie said it was slipping a little bit in high gear, so maybe it was just from him. He mentioned having burnt the clutch, so that might have been the problem. Maybe it's slightly glazed, but anyway, I will clean that up. Maybe there was a little bit too much oil in the chain case too. That can cause a bit of slippage sometimes as well. So anyhow, like I say, I'll get to work and I'll machine that bolt out and put a little plastic button inside it so that it has something soft to sit on the case there, and I should be able to put that back together. Okay, I've taken that little chain adjuster shoe out of the Royal Enfield again, and I'm going to unscrew the adjuster bolt out of here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a flat bottomed recess in the top of the screw, which is, when this is in position, it's actually the bottom of the bolt or screw or whatever you want to call it. That sits down on the case, kind of like that, right? What I want is something reasonably soft between the head of that bolt and the case, and it doesn't have to be very thick. BSA did this with their adjusters, but their adjusters go in the lower case and they go in that way, right? And they had that little plastic button in the top. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of this nylon after I have this this recess machine in the top of here. So I'm going to stick that in the old lathe there and get to work. Okay, I'm going to turn on the machine now and start cutting that recess in the head of that bolt. I'm going to cut on the back side of the piece of metal this time, so I'll have the machine running backwards. You could do it running forwards if you wanted to. Now, let me just stop it. Have a look. Yeah, that's going to be plenty wide enough. I don't want to go too wide or I'll go beyond the flats of the bolt, and that would kind of ruin things. So, alright, let's have a little cut in there. I suppose I'm going to cut this about an inch deep. Doesn't have big jack. Not really looking for perfection here. There now, I'm in there about a 1/16 of an inch, but I need to relieve the edge of that cutting bit there so I can get right into that corner a little more. Or I suppose I could change the angle that I'm cutting on. That might save me a bit of time. Let me just let's see now. Where's that paper that I'm after? There we go. That's the one. Alright, let's just get these. Move that ahead there a little further. Actually, I think I might turn that around. Put it in there that way. I'll tighten all 3 yet until I know what I'm looking at. Yeah, that should work. That might work a little better with a bit more of an angle like that. Maybe I can get closer to that edge without having to change anything, and if I have to, I will. Let's just bring it in a little bit more. There, let's try that. To relieve the edge of that bit just a little bit so that I can, this edge right here on the bottom is kind of cutting into the edge on that where I want it to be smooth. So just give me a sec here. I'll look after that. Meanwhile, I'll just see if I can reach pause on the camera. Okay, there's the cutting face, but I've relieved that edge on the bottom so it doesn't interfere with that flat edge I'm trying to cut there. So we'll put that back in. These particular bits are high-speed steel. Some people are using the newer type with carbide sort of tips on them. I do have some carbide tip bits that will fit in these that I use for cutting heavier metal. Well, I certainly don't need them for most of my work because most of my work is done with the milder form of steel like this here. Okay. Went in there nice and flat, so I've got a nice flat surface there on the bottom now too to work with, so I think I can make my little plastic button up to fit in there. Okay, now I'm going to machine that nylon down. Forward rotation here. I've got some other plastic here that I was considering using. It's a much newer grade of plastic than this nylon here. It's a little bit softer than nylon, but it's a whole lot harder than Teflon. Teflon certainly has its wonderful uses, but that plastic would certainly do a nice job on this. See that? Be very careful when you're pulling that nylon off of there, because if you grab that and pull too hard, the edges of that are as sharp as a razor and they will cut your finger. So don't do that. Anyway, I'm going to measure up the head of that bolt now, and I'm going to cut that so it's the right diameter to fit inside. Pretty close to fitting that into that bolt. Let's just see what we got here. Very, very close. Measure that again with the verniers. See how much further I have to go. Not very far, about 5 thousandths. So that's 5. And then this a little bit of a tight fit than a loose one. That's just about as perfect as it gets. It's tight enough to hold the bolt on there, so it doesn't really get much better than that, eh? So now what I'm going to do, measure the outside diameter across the high points of that bolt head, and then that's the diameter that I'll make the larger part of that. So let's do that. Right across the high points there. Doesn't have to be perfect. That says about 600 thousandths. So this diameter here is currently 620 thousandths. So if I just touch that and then take 20 thou off of there, I should be just exactly where I want to be. Just gonna slide that cross slide into a touch. Close already, dude. Come on. There we go. Just touching there now. I'm gonna take 20 thou off. And I'll just feed that in there by hand. Careful pulling that swarf away from there, because like I said, that can cut you quite easily. So let me just stick this arm here now. Now I need to take about a 1/16 off the length of that stub there, so that everything will line up the way I want it to. Okay, so now all I have to do is cut that off. I hope that parting tool is sharp enough. The last time I used it, it didn't seem to have much of an edge on it. But let's give it a go and see what happens. Well, it's sharp enough for nylon anyway. Now, I want to make sure I don't lose that piece down there in the nether world, and it falls off, and I did not lose it. There it is, right there. Now all I have to do is just cut that little nubbins off the end of that. I can fit it into there like that, and I'll have a nice plastic buffer that I can use. So there it is. I hope you can see that. Anyway, got my recess cut in the bolt head. Got a nice little nylon button cut to fit in there. That's a nice stiff fit. Can even glue that in there if I wanted to. But that's going to sit between the aluminum casing and the head of that bolt. That way you won't get any clacking sounds and you won't get any wear on the casing from that, because the plastic will wear instead. So I'm going to put that back in the primary case. Okay, so now I've got that all fitted back together. So I'm going to lay that little crescent wrench aside and slip this back into place. All right. That, make sure that's all the way in there where it belongs. I should just back that, give that a little more freedom. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, just to make sure it's in there all the way and sitting where it's supposed to sit. I actually found out when I was screwing this bolt back in that that's a bolt that somebody must have put in there at some time, because the end of the bolt is actually cut off with a hacksaw. Better remove that oil pan, or I'll be into that next thing, you know. All right, there we go. Now, I can tighten that up like so. Stay in there, baby. You don't want to leave me, not yet. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a new chain at some point for this, because I don't like the condition that old chain is in. So I'm going to adjust that till I've got about 3/8 of an inch of free play. Of course, make sure the clutch basket's in all the way while I'm doing it. So just a little more wrench in here, and that should be where it wants to be. There, I wouldn't want it any tighter than that. Yeah. Like I say, when they're talking free play, they're talking free play, not how far can you push it. Yeah. So that should do the trick. I'm gonna set the lock nut up in that position right there. And I'll just hold the head of that bolt with this crescent so it doesn't turn. That's really all the things that a crescent wrench is any good for. You know, I'm just kidding, really. How many times have we all used them to turn wrenches when we know we should be using the proper box end or open end wrenches like that, right? But, anyway, let's just screw that up against the base of the adjuster. And we'll lock it in place. Close. Make sure you hold that. That's good. So that's not coming apart. That's a little more free play than I like. I'm just going to, it could be that when I was tightening that up, I may have turned the adjuster bolt a bit more than I intended to. So let's just make sure that's, yeah, I must have turned the bolt when I was tightening that up. Probably the crescent wrench came off when I wasn't paying attention. Alright, well that's okay. Those things happen. Okay, that's nice and tight. That's better. Got my 3/8. Okay, I'm going to clean up the clutch, like I mentioned. Put this all back together. Really all this was exploratory surgery to get in here and find out about the things that Charlie was telling me. This case seals up with a rubber O-ring here. I don't have a new one, and it makes me wonder if the Norton ones will fit there or not. In any case, like I said, I'm not going to change anything else right now. Like I said, this is just exploratory surgery. I do want to change that at some time in the future before I return this to Charlie. But I'll tell you a little something about these particular Royal Enfields. They're hard to find parts for. And I do know a few good suppliers who I'm sure can help me. But I was looking for a chain just to see if I could find one on the internet. I probably spent about 2 hours looking and I can't find one. Anyway, like I said, I'll get the clutch back together. I'll get the cover back on. I want to get back at that Norton and start reassembling. Yeah, putting engine and forks and wheels on that pretty frame there. So anyway, I'll get that cover back on. Okay, well, that takes care of that. When I pull the clutch lever in, the hub disengages like it should, and it runs pretty true. It's within about 15 thousandths of an inch, so you know that's in that direction. Kind of hard to describe. Anyway, the clutch isn't wobbling or anything, so yeah, that should. When you let it go, it's good and stiff. So anyway, I got my 3/8 play here, and the clutch is running true. I did clean up the cork clutch plates. I gave them a little scrub on a bit of sandpaper, not too much. I don't want to wear them out. I just want to present a new surface for the steel plates to push against. Yeah, that very rotten piece of radiator hose that was under the adjusting bolt is gone. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but I've got the little plastic button is there that I made up to go underneath the adjuster bolt, so that will give us some give in between, you know, something soft between that bolt and the casing. So anyway, like for now, the object is to get this thing out on the road and get it running and then see what it needs from there. So like I said, I know that I will be changing that primary chain at some point because you know, it's kind of wore out. I don't really like it. So anyway, I'm going to get a little bit of sealer on that rubber gasket and offer the cover back up. And that should be it for this. Then I can get back at the Norton project.